is Jose Sanchez, and today I'm going to be talking about the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU for sure. Okay, taking a random guess, people, how many cases do you think that the ACLU receives in a year?
20,000.
A million?
20,000 in June.
Okay, according to ACLU.org, the official website of the page, the ACLU receives nearly 6,000 cases annually. So somewhere way off. Okay. The ACLU provides services all over the U.S. regarding whether an individual rights were violated, constitutional or not. So, right now I'm going to give you a brief history about when the ACLU started. It goes back all the way to World War I, 1917 and 1920. There was a communism spread in Russia. When the world was over, some of the Americans were afraid that the communism in Russia would come all the way to the U.S. These people were called radicals by the government or the military just because they were afraid of communism. So they started to they started to assemble in groups to speak about the communism. General Palmer, they started deporting these radicals without a need to. They just got them and then they started taking them out of the U.S. because they were opposing to the government, as Solis said. Then in 1920, some of these deported people, they got into a group and they just took a stand against them. That is when the official ACLU organization was born. Here is a cartoon illustrated of General Palmer, as you can see. And all these people right here, they are the so-called radicals. They made them seem as they're going against the government. And as they tie them up in chains, they're about to deport them. There's all the other military, they have them in net, and they're deporting them. That's an illustration. Okay, now that I've talked about the brief history of the ACLU, let's move on to the services that they provide. The ACLU, their main concern is protecting the Bill of Rights, an individual's rights. Whether it is unconstitutional, that's their main concern. They receive cases where they believe that a person's rights have been violated. They have 200 official staff attorneys and they have nearly 2,000 volunteer attorneys. Those are the ones that go to courts, the staff attorneys. They have the volunteers to work with them. The Texas charter of the ACLU is in San Antonio, but there is going to be one in Laredo soon. But they have like 2 or 3 charters in the big states. Like in Washington, that's their main office, the main one that controls all of them. Now that I've talked about the services that the ACLU provides, I'm gonna speak about the most influential cases where they have participated. 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education. How many of you are familiar with that? Okay, well, did you all know that the ACLU was involved in that? It's the separate but equal cause, right? They actually worked together with the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. The ACLU and the NAACP got together and took the case Brown versus Board of Education, which led them to a victory. That's where the separate but equal ended. Moving on, we have Roe v. Wade, abortion. That's one that's still going on right now. But actually, the ACLU worked with Roe, and that's when they got the victory, where they made abortion legal for the first 3 months. Although today, the religious people are still trying to go back to court and change it with the pro-life against the pro-choice. But that was something that influenced the people because they changed the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court overruled it. That was in 1973. And we have Lawrence versus Texas. How many of you are familiar with that one? Okay, for those of you who are not familiar with that one, Lawrence versus Texas was a Supreme Court case where before in Texas, same-sex relationships was a crime. So Lawrence appealed it to Supreme Court. They got together with the ACLU, and then they overruled it by saying that they should have the right to privacy. So that's another major case in within the ACLU. now that I've talked about the famous cases that the ACLU has been involved in, I'm about to conclude with this closing remark. It's actually a quote by Roger Baldwin. He is the founder of the ACLU. We're all minorities in this class, all of us. And you know. Here, tell me you're a minority. So long as we have enough people to fight for our rights, we will be called a democracy. It is actually true. All right, guys? Thank you.